Hi everybody, Claire here, and today I'm going to share with you one of my childhood favorites. This is my mom's recipe for lemon bars. This is the perfect snack for after school or for tea time. These are wonderful with a little bit of vanilla ice cream or some whipped cream as well, so just throwing it out there. All right, so what we have in front of me is a lot, right? It looks like, woo, this is a lot going on, but basically it's just two phases. I am making my crust first, and then my filling. So for my crust, I have 2 cups of flour, all-purpose flour, a ½ cup of powdered sugar, 8 ounces of room temperature butter. That's it, that's the crust, so easy. The filling has a little more going on. It has a cup of white sugar, a cup of brown sugar, 4 eggs, room temperature. I have 1/3 cup of lemon juice, 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, ½ teaspoon of baking powder, a little bit of vanilla extract, 1/4 cup of flour, which I know sounds weird for the filling, but it actually helps everything bind together. And then I have my lemon, which I am going to zest. All right, well, let's get started. First things first, the crust. So I'm going to first combine the butter and the powdered sugar, and I'm doing this by hand. You don't have to. Make it in a food processor, make it in a blender or mixer or something like that, that's fine. But if you're gonna do it by hand, one really important thing is to make sure that the butter is very much room temperature. This is gonna be a shortbread crust, so you want the butter to be mixed in throughout. So now I'm gonna add the flour just a little bit at a time. I don't wanna overwork it, sort of like a ½ cup at a time. So now I'm just gonna lay this into my prepared baking pan. It's a 9 by 13 inch pan, and then I just have it lined with some parchment paper. The reason why I do this is because later on, you'll see, I can just lift the bars out. I don't have to have a sacrificial corner bar, so that makes me very happy. So I'm just gonna press this in. You do not have to be that fussy with it. The goal is just that it's completely even. And then once I press this in, it's gonna go in the oven at 350 for about like 15, 20 minutes. You want it to be barely golden brown at the edges, so you don't want it to have any dark color on it. The crust is out of the oven, so you can see it's just like barely colored, and that's good. You don't want it to be too dark. Otherwise, when you bake it again with the filling on top, it's gonna get way too crunchy. You want it to be nice and tender. So we're now gonna get to the filling. So to make that, it's pretty basic. I'm gonna take my 4 eggs, crack them together, and I'm mixing them with my sugars. So I'll just add the sugar as I'm beating it. I'm mixing them for, I'd say a couple of minutes, maybe like 3 minutes. I actually want it to get a really nice pale color. That's when you know that you've whipped it sufficiently. You can see it is so pale now, right? It looks a completely different color. So I'm gonna continue to whisk this, and I'm gonna start drizzling in my lemon juice, and then I'm gonna get into my dry ingredients. Beautiful. So the last 2 things I'm going to add are the vanilla extract and then the lemon zest. So I have my little microplane here, and I always say this, but I like to lemon the zester. So what I'm doing is I'm just rubbing the lemon onto the zester rather than doing this, because like this is insanity, right? Like it's gonna take 1,000 years for me to do anything effective. This way, it really works well. And I want about a teaspoon. The great thing about Zest is it just has all the oils and sweetness and flavor of the citrus, but without any of the bitterness or sour flavor. So I like to go a little crazy on the Zest. And if you are having trouble figuring out exactly how much Zest is appropriate, about one like regular size lemon like this is about 1 teaspoon. So I'm just gonna whisk this together really quickly and then pour it over my ready to go crust. And it doesn't look like much now, but it's going to rise quite a bit as it bakes. So this is gonna bake at 350, and if the crust is still hot, like if you pull it from the oven and then put this right into it, it bakes for 20 to 25 minutes. If your crust is cold, because you made it ahead of time like I did, you actually are gonna bake it for closer to 35 to 40 minutes. So I just wanted to throw that out there because that can really throw off your baking. If you think it's 25 minutes, but you've already made your crust and you're like, it looks like soup, or the opposite where you've completely overdone it. So that's the word to the wise there. If it's cold, it needs more time. If it's hot, less time. All right. So the lemon bars are not only out of the oven, but they've cooled. And this is an important thing. It's like with lasagna, how if you cut into it when you just took it out of the oven, it's gonna just like, bleh, it's gonna go everywhere, it's awful. So same thing with the lemon bars. If you try to cut into these when they're still warm, you're gonna get like a swimming pool of lemon. You're not gonna get these perfect little bars. So you have to let them set. So I'm gonna take apart the parchment paper, and then this is the must, this is the finishing touch, is a little bit of powdered sugar right on top. This is what makes it like Mom's. And you can see the brown sugar definitely gives it a like darker, more golden brown hue. But if you really want it to be that bright yellow, just use all white sugar. Time to slice it up. I love the combination of textures here. The tender crust with the really kind of like gooey, custardy sort of filling. It gets a little cakey towards the top as well, which is so great. All right, let's see, is it just like Mom did it? Time to find out. That is so delicious. It's just so simple. It's not too sweet because of the lemon, and it just tastes so, so good. I adore these lemon bars. Well, I would love to hear in the comments what your favorite childhood treats were. What are your favorite things to bake in the summertime? Like the video if you like it, and yeah, say hey to me and I'll say hey back. Bye guys.